Now I would like to invite all of you to Comrade Media's cultural program In Pursuit of Roots, presented by Dr. Mohan Varughese. This episode is titled Chera Kings of Sangham Era. Sir, please start it. That the poet's name, how they were praised, and the kings, you once said that they were nominal entity, having an ornamental proposition with a little authority or little power of administration. Actual administration was done in the lower or the subordinate Naduvaris and little kings. How they came to be praised in this way?
Poets always exaggerate. Sangham poets also were no different. They would paint superhuman picture about the then Maharajas. And Maharajas were not exactly Maharajas, they were just presiding over a very loose federal arrangement in which they were actually nominal figureheads.
The hierarchical head nominal.
It was nominal. But the one reading of the Sangham poetry literature will give an impression that they are superhuman entities. But the good thing is that this is the only source. Pathittu is probably the only credible source that can throw light upon the names of the emperors, Chera emperors.
And, did the poets get any material benefit from praising these personalities?
Certainly. Poets would be always doing that. Poets would be rewarded with gold coins. Kapilar and Paranar and all people, poets, were praising the Maharaja. In return, they would be getting gold and ornaments and elephants sometimes and property, land, everything in huge quantity.
So let me ask one more thing. Were these nominal emperors very rich?
The riches come to them, but they have to distribute it. They can't hold it. They are actually in charge of redistribution of wealth.
Really, they possessed riches.
Of course they possess riches.
Generally, they can give them gift to poets who praise them.
When the poets say, king gave 1 million pieces of gold, perhaps 10 pieces of gold may have been given. 10 gold coins.
That also
is exaggerated. That is what we assume now. Because it could not have been, that much of wealth. So that is our inference.
The quantity is also exaggerated.
Quantity also is exaggerated. Everything is exaggerated.
Everything is exaggerated.
Because that era, Sangham era, is characterized by hero worship, heroic deeds, and superhuman, superlative efforts by ordinary human beings.
Really by ordinary human beings.
Really by ordinary human beings. So you want the names of kings. It's a long list. 10 kings, emperors, Chera kings. Kings, in the last episode we mentioned that kings were not called kings, they were called Kuttuvan, Kuttuvan, etc. Kuttuvan, the first Kuttuvan mentioned in the Chera, in the Pathittu is the Onnam Patta, first poem of the collection of 10 poetries called Pathittu. The author is Mamulanar. We assume that work is actually lost. From 2nd till 9th, we were able to retrieve it. But the first one is actually missing. But we assume that the author's name is certain. That is Mamulanar, the poet. Mamulanar wrote about Uttiyan Cheraladan, otherwise known as Perincho Tudiyan. He is also called Imaya Vanavaramban. Three names given.
Can you
One
explain?
man.
Can you explain the
Udayan can be his
of
name. See, we are unsure whether the king was called Udiyan. Udiyan also can be a title. Cheral means the king, Chera king.
Chera king.
Adhan means a very venerable, respectable person. Adhan is Adhan. So, Udiyan Cheraladhan, assuming that the name of the first Chera king, as per the Paditipatha, is Udiyan Cheraladhan. And he is given a few titles. He is conferred certain titles by the poets. No universities, or only bards, poets that would confer title. And his conquest was so high, so memorable, that sky was the limit.
The boundary
of his empire is the sky. Vanam is sky. Vanavaramban. Varamba means the boundary. There is another explanation. Vanavarka Anpanayavan. Vanavar means gods. Anban means very beloved. He is so beloved a Maharaja as far as gods are concerned. It can be interpreted either way.
He is the favorite of the gods also.
He is the favorite of the gods also. His empire knows no limit, and sky is the limit. And he is also given the title Udiyan Cheraladhan is Perum Cho Tudiyan. Chor means rice. Perum Cho Tudiyan means he would be throwing parties.
Hosting parties.
In which rice, some delicacies like Neiban Chore, Oon Chore, it's like biryani. It's like a present day biryani.
Distributed lavishly.
In large quantity. In honor of his forefathers. And also, there is an exaggerated account by some poets saying that even Perincho Tudiyan sent food packets to the Mahabharata battle, Kurukshetra. Kurukshetra took place another time.
Kids of those days,
that is Kurukshetra. Certainly should be far ahead. Far ahead means it happened eons before 1st century AD. There is 1st century AD Maharaja. Maybe contemporary of St. Thomas. If St. Thomas had come to Kerala, he would have possibly come during the reign of Udiyan Cheraladhan. Around AD 52, 53, between AD 50s and 60s. So that is the time frame of Udiyan Cheraladhan.
Then what about the second one?
His son Nedum Cheraladhan
is the second one.
Yeah, that is he is succeeded by Nedum Cheraladhan.
His eldest son, I suppose.
Eldest son. Nedum Cheraladhan was a very influential Chera king. The poet who wrote about Nedum Cheraladhan is Kammattur Kannanar. A poet called Kannanar. He explains about, he is also giving titles, lavishly giving titles. Said Immaya Varamban is the title. Immaya means the Himalaya. Immaya, Himalaya. Himalaya is the border. That means he has conquered not only Pandya and Chola kingdom and also North India also to reach all the way up to Himalaya, which is historically incorrect.
Not correct.
Totally incorrect. But poets can use imagination.
Poetic license.
Poetic license is there to praise somebody to any extent. So that is
vast margin for imagination.
And his children were many. But he had 2 wives. See, they all belong to Vanavaramban dynasty. It's called. The beginning is with Vanavaramban. This is Vanavaramban is Udiyan Cheraladhan. The third king of that era was not exactly. It's not the son of Imavaramban. It is Pal Yane Chel Kedu Kuttavan. Should be a cousin. Because he had 2 sons who did not become Maharajas. Palyane Chel Kedu Kuttavan may not have even become the king. May not have, because the literature, it is written by Palai Gautamanar. The poet's name is Palai Gautamanar. from that poetry, Moonam Patta, the third poetry,
Moonam.
does not give a hint that he really ruled. Pal Yane, Yane means Ane.
Ana.
He may be having good sight, like an elephant's sight, or maybe a strong one like Ane, Pal Yane, Chel Kedu Kuttavan, that's the name of the third king. But he helped other kings in the battles, it said. And during the fag end of the life, he had a very remote life, far away from power structure and all that. He would have gone into Vanaprastha or Sannyasa,
Sannyasa.
maybe. So nothing much is heard about that third king.
So I
But the
think,
fourth one is more important. Kalankai Kanni Nar Mudi Cheral, very brave person. Kalankai Kanni, because it's a kai, one kind of seed or fruit or some kind of an eatable thing. Kalankai, maybe even some shell also. He would have been wearing something like a shell or a fruit or something. Kalankai Kanni Nar Mudi Cheral is the hero of the fourth segment, or fourth king. So that is he is given life by Kappiyattu Kappiyanar, another poet.
Poet's name.
Kappiyattu Kappiyanar talks about him. He talks about Narmudi Cheral attacking Yejimala Nannan. It's a contemporary of Chera king. Yejimala is north. Nannan is defeated by Narmudi Cheral, who was not also king. He was also helping his father.
Only royal relative.
He was he was son. He was son of Neduncherala.
Neduncherala.
He was one son of Neduncherala, the elder son of Neduncherala, who never, Narmudi Cheral also may not have become king. But he is a Veeran, he is a big fighter. He won many battles for that his father. Okay? And the fifth one is a very famous one, popularly known as the Cheran Chenkuttavan.
Cheran Chenkuttavan.
Vel Kedu Kuttavan, Kaddal Pirakotia, Vel Kedu Kuttavan. Kaddal means the ocean, Arabian Sea. Pirakotia means forced to withdraw, Pirakotia. Vel Kedu Kuttavan, Vel can be spear.
That is a
Koju,
maybe by Murugan.
Yeah, that plow.
Shulam.
Shulam is, Shulam, Kundam, that is spear. So with the military might of the land, he would have chased away the opponents. And he won a famous, the inference is that, inference from the poet Paranar, who wrote about this man. Cheran Chenkuttavan, Vel Kedu Kuttavan. Paranar talks about a big time naval battle won against maybe Pandyans, maybe Cholans by this king. But he even defeated, according to the poem, he defeated the Chola king. But it died in battle also. Chola king also died. He also died. Both the kings died in a famous epic battle. So this is a very famous king called Cheran Chenkuttavan. Chenkuttavan figures in a later work called Chilapathigaram, in which Kovilan and Kannagi are the stars. Chilapathigaram ideally could be written in 7th or 8th century, much after Sangham period.
This is the seed story.
Yeah, the original story is from the late 1st century and early 2nd century, when Vel Kedu Kuttavan, otherwise known as Cheran Chenkuttavan, ruled the Chera kingdom. So that is the
centuries back.
Centuries back. Then it would have been transmitting from through oral traditions, or maybe some even that codified thing of Patitipatta should be the reference text before writing Chilapathigaram and later work Manimekala. So this is the Cheran Chenkuttavan, written by Paranar. The sixth king is a very interesting thing. He's a prince, not a king.
His prince.
Aattu Kottu Pattu Cheraladan.
What is meant by that name?
It's a very, very, very jumpy, flowery kind of name. Aattu Kottu Pattu Cheraladan. Aattu means can be dance. Kottu Pattu means music. Cheraladan is the Chera king. From the poetry, written by a lady, Nachallayar, Kakkai Padinar Nachallayar is the one who wrote. According to Nachallayar,
A lady
he would
writer.
be, lady writer. He would be holding a spear. He would be holding a sword. He is a voracious fighter, fearsome fighter, make huge kill. And with the sword, he would be dancing feverishly in the battlefield.
Even in
Hailed by the Kuttar and Viralis in
Dancers.
the battlefield. The narration of the war and the war dance by Attukottu Pattu Cheraladan.
What's
So captivating.
Kottu
Kottu means it should be some place and all that. No, Attukottu, it is a rhyming thing. Maybe the court comes to rhyme. Attukottu Pattu Cheraladan. It is to rhyme it. So that is the sixth king. Seventh, eighth, and ninth kings belong to another dynasty of Chera.
Dynasty got changed.
Dynasty changed from the Udayan dynasty, that is Vanavaramban dynasty, into Idumpurai dynasty. Okay,
No relation.
they are
Are they related?
Ananthuvan Cheral is the original forefather of the Idumpurai dynasty. So he had a few children. One of them succeeded, about which Kapilar writes. Okay. Palyana Chelkodikuttavan, and he is related, that is, they were all helping the Chera king. This man also, the leader of the seventh song, also is a very famous king. And Kapilar writes about him in his heroic deeds, in which he is said to have extended his kingdom beyond the Chera borders, original Chera borders, stretching into the Chola land, seemingly conquering even Puhar. That is the Chola capital. And so the Chera dynasty reached the Eastern Sea during his time. His children, two of them, became Maharajas. One is that is the eighth king. It's Perum Cheral Idumpurai. He is immortalized by Arashil Kirar. Arashil Kirar is the poet who immortalized this man. Perum Cheral Idumpurai. Again, he won Vaka Perumthurai battle. And then he is won a number of battles. He defeated Adhiyaman kingdom's leader Ejini. Adhiyaman Ejini. So there are a number of battles won by this man. And the ninth one is Ilam Cheral Idumpurai. That is his brother succeeded him. We are not very sure from the poets. That is Arachil Pedunkuntur Kirar. Pedunkuntur Kirar wrote about the ninth king. Not exactly king, prince. Not all are kings. Certainly, Udayan Cheraladan is king, Nedun Cheraladan is king, Velkizhukuttavan is king. But these others, we are not very sure whether. Peruncheral Idumpurai was king, and Ilamcheral Idumpurai may not have been king, but he ruled for a very short period of time, if at all he ruled. And the 10th one, we assume that it is Mantharan Cheral. The poet's name is not known.
Anonymous.
Mantharan Cheral is the 10th Cheral. So these are the 10 Chera kings who ruled our land.
Now we have very clearly learnt about Patitipat, a part of Sangham literature. It is now very clear, sir. Thank you for this.
Thank you.
Thank you everybody for listening to us. We can see in the next episode.